everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Let's Play series where I have been doing a little bit of work around the place. And first of all, as you've just seen in that time lapse, I've built up some little houses going around this side of the island, just so that they're sort of hiding that massive wall that we had. That was where those greenhouses are. That is one heck of a massive wall. It's a little bit on the unsightly side. So I've made these little run-down shack-like houses that are clutching onto the side of this island. The interior is in need of some work at the moment. It is still a little bit on the completely unfinished side. In fact, I don't even have a roof over this part. But I have also popped down a floor on this lower level, just so that I can see how much space there is back here. We get a little bit narrow just there, but this again is quite a nice sized room that these houses are creating. I just need to decide if I want to push back that wall there. Meantime, as well, I've also done a little bit of work just on the inside, underneath where these greenhouses are, just to make something of a storage that's more, let's say, decorative rather than something that I'm actually going to use. So if we just hop in through my little tunneled through bit, you can see what I have been up to. I've just made a little sort of work area where people have been building things, they're fixing up grinders or maybe working with the wheels, and they're storing some hay around, and it's just, as I say, a decorative little storage place. But while I am happy with this little storage area that I've made, all is not well overall. And that's because if I just come back outside, if you remember we built up the two new greenhouses on the other side, well, the more I look at them, the more I don't actually like them. Which is something of an issue, of course, because they're there permanently now, they're not schematics anymore, so I'm going to need to make some changes. And I don't have an issue with all of them. I like these two just there, and I like the fact that we've got this other greenhouse that is tucked up round the corner, and I also like the little narrow alley that cuts between them. It's just this greenhouse, this one that's in between in this little middle section. I feel that it is just too repetitive, so I want to replace it with something else. And for that reason, I haven't bothered with planting this one up. I've only done the wheat field on the end. But that then begs the question, what can I put there instead of this greenhouse? And I think what I'm going to go with is a tower of some sort. Something that's going to really sort of stand out above all these other greenhouses a little bit. But of course it's going to have to be in keeping with the area, so it can't be like a wizard tower or something. It's going to have to be more water tower sort of thing. And because this area is starting to look rather stone heavy at the moment, I want to make my new water tower out of something different. In fact, what I want to make it out of is mud bricks, and maybe a bit of the packed mud as well. Something that's going to be a completely different colour to all of this sort of grey that's around. And so though, if we've settled on using some nice mud bricks and some packed mud to make our water tower over there, then we need to actually make that as something that we can use as an ingredient. And normally, if you're going to be making some mud and mud bricks, then what you need to do is you just plonk some dirt down on the floor, fill up some glass bottles with water, and then you can sort of tip them over the dirt and it's going to become mud like this. And you go through one at a time, doopy-doopy-doo, there we go, and then we can dig them up. 1, 2, 3, and then go into our inventory, and then we can just combine them with wheat in order to make some packed mud. There we go, and now we've got 3 little packed muds. In fact, we've got 4, because I think I already had 1 in my inventory. Either way though, you can see that that is not exactly the world's fastest system, especially not if I'm going to be making about 7 stacks worth of all of this. It is definitely something we need to automate. Good old Create is going to make this very much easier for us. And so what we can do is we can come over into our inventory, into JEI, let's have a little look. Let's have a look at the varieties of mud that we are going to be needing. So packed mud is our finished product. The original mud is the one that we want. And there we go. So we can see mud can be made by mixing up with water any of the dirt variants. Coarse dirt, normal dirt, rooted dirt, you name it. It can be turned into mud for us. We just need to do some work with water, which does throw a minor spanner in our works, of course, because we've not done anything with fluids yet, and so we're going to need to make some copper pipes so that we can move the water around. But though we've got a good foundation, we know that this is all going to have to be done in a whisk, so let's just go make some copper pipes and come back, and then we'll make ourselves a little mud farm down in this corner. Right, so here we are back down in our corner. Now I have got some fluid pipes as well, so I'm going to be able to move that water around. And we're going to start the process we need to go to in order to automate a little farm for ourselves. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a nice long belt. That should be a nice huge one, so it's definitely not going to be too short for what we're wanting. And this is just so that we've got plenty of space to work with while we start working our way through this automation. So, hook up a belt between all of that. And I know the first thing I'm going to want is a starting chest. So I pop a little chest down on there. I'm going to need a way for stuff to get out of that chest, so I'm going to use an andesite funnel. Then I'm going to need to have a little space that I leave here for another andesite funnel, because I need to have a basin. First thing that's going to start being able to make our mud for us. There's our basin. And if we come around the other side, we can just click on our basin with an andesite funnel, and now it's going to go from the chest into the basin between the two little funnels. And then we just need to have a whisk up above there. So if we just hop up onto the belt and we come over to our basin, we can right click into the basin and the whisk appears over the top. And that needs to get powered, and we're going to be using water wheels just because they're nice and cheap. Little water wheel, we'll just pop him round the other side so that we're able to get things powered up. To do that, I am just going to dig it into the ground. It's a little bit neater that way. It might not look the most realistic, but it does at least mean that it is nicely out of the way for us. But if we pop the little water wheel just down there. Hello, stay over there, don't come and get me. I'm just going to chop this up with some water, and then we'll set off this little water wheel. There we go, and then we're just going to need a vertical gearbox and a shaft in order to set off this belt. So I'll just pop that in there, and I think I've just taken my vertical gearbox away. I did. There we go, and now everything is moving. And so, if I put something into this chest though, it is then going to automatically go straight into our basin. And this is the very basics of how you start automating things in Create. So I know that at this point, I have got the belt moving, the whisk is there, it's not powered yet, but I can be able to put dirt into this chest, it's going to go into this basin, and it can be whisked with water. And the water part is what comes next. Well, here's a load of it. There's plenty of water over here, I should be able to just use that, and that's why I've got these little fluid pipes. What I can do is I'm going to come over to my water source, in line with this basin, keeping my eye on that drowned over there who's now coming after me. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start taking the water pipes up, and I'm going to connect them over to this little basin. We just click them together like that. This one on the bottom isn't actually needed, so I'm going to take that one back. And that way now, that pipe is there going into that water, and it's going to be able to suck up the water from there, and it's going to be able to just use and abuse, I suppose, all of this water, and the source is never going to run out. It's just going to be an eternal load of water for us. At the moment, though, there is nothing to do any actual pumping, so if I take out this little pipe, what I can do is I can connect this mechanical pump instead. And if I crouch down and then right-click, it will be able to connect so that it's drawing water from the source into this basin, which you can tell from this little grey arrow just here. That tells you exactly what direction it's all moving in. Now, if I get one of my little cogwheels, and I can attach that onto that shaft down at the bottom, it is automatically going to start turning this little pipe, as you can see, because it's got a sort of inbuilt cog in it, and so it's going to naturally start sucking water up, which you can see from all those little particles that are moving along now. That's letting you know that it's full of water. And if we come and have a look in our little basin, we can see that it's starting to fill up. So at this point, we know that this basin is getting the water that it needs. It now just needs the dirt. Well, I can already put that in. I can pop that straight into here. But of course, we're not actually powering our little whisk yet. So what it'll do at this point is it's just going to go and sit and bob around in this water. It won't do anything, it won't disappear, it will just wait and see what happens at this point. And the first thing I'm going to do though is I need to go and sleep. Okay, so back again, and the last thing we need to do now is get this whisk set up, and I know full well this is definitely going too slow. So the first thing we need to do is we need to speed up this rotation a little bit, just by doing large cogwheel, two small cogwheel. Whoop, hop up here, pop a small cogwheel off to one side. We'll have a shaft going up from that, just like so, and a large cogwheel on top of that one, and then we can connect with a little small cogwheel up to this whisk. It can now whisk, and it's going to start blending our mud up for us, nice and easily. There we go, and here comes our first nice little bit of mud. So at this point, it is just going to sit and whisk for as long as it's got a water source, which it is literally never going to run out of, So it'll whisk until it's gone through all of the dirt that's coming out of the chest. But obviously at the moment all this dirt is just going to nowhere, so we need to have a little collection chest. And we'll pop that right at the very end for now, just because we haven't quite finished the process yet. I should pop that there. There we go. All of our mud is going to go in. Ooh. There we go. Pop those bits in there. And there we go though. That is a really simple, if not exactly aesthetically pleasing way though, we have managed to completely automate making mud from dirt. It is going to be able to do all of the job for us. All we need to do now is turn this into packed mud. So let's have a little look at JEI and see what that's going to involve, which I'm pretty certain is just another case of whisking. Let's have a look. So muds, we want to make packed mud just there. So yes, once again, we can just use a whisk. We just need to mix up mud with wheat. And that is even easier because it doesn't involve moving fluids. So all we're going to need to do is pop down another basin. We're going to need to have a gap where that is just there because we need to have a space where we can put our andesite funnel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my next basin just here. And then into that we're going to have a little andesite funnel just on this side, just like that. So the mud is going to plop straight into this basin pretty much. It's barely even going to touch the belt as it goes in. Above that then though, we'll just have another mechanical mixer. There we go, and I'm moving on the belt. And because we've got one right next door that is already going at the right speed, we can just hook the two up together. Oh dear though, we seem to have become overstressed. So what we've done here is our one tiny little water wheel just isn't strong enough to be able to power all of these contraptions at once. And so it's saying it is quite literally overstressed. If it did that, it would break. And so it just stops instead. But what can we do about this? Well, we've basically got two choices. We can either upgrade our water wheel system around here. At the moment, we've only got one little one that's not strong enough to be able to power the system. We could use one of these, one of the huge water wheels now available to us. These are fantastic, they look amazing, they can be changed into all sorts of different colours, much like the little ones can, and I'm supremely fond of them, but they have one major drawback in this instance, which is that they run slower, which is bad considering the work we've just gone through in order to speed things up. They won't be able to run these whisks, essentially, if we swapped it straight away for the little one. And so we've got another option though. This little gearbox that is just above our water wheel is perfectly capable of taking yet another input. So if we popped another little water wheel just on there, like so, boom, everything is working again. You saw it have a little sort of steamy moment where it said, right, I've got power, let's go. And so everything is back, we are no longer stressed. Because we only needed a tiny little bit more power that this tiny water wheel is quite capable of supplying. And so though now the last thing we need to do is we need to get the final ingredient, which is wheat, supplied into this basin, because remember, it is filling up with mud for us. We need to blend that up with wheat in order to make packed mud. And the nice thing about this is that it doesn't involve any fancy stuff at all. We can do it with a simple hopper and chest, same as you would do any other redstone contraption. You just need to shift, crouch in front of your basin, right click to attach the hopper into it, and then you can just stick a chest up on top. Just like so, and now when I put the wheat into that, it is going to be able to start blending up with our mud, and it's going to become packed mud for us rather than mud as a final product. And there we go, here comes the packed mud. And there we go though, I am perfectly happy with this as a little contraption for making us some packed mud, and I'm perfectly okay with just taking it out and then, you know, putting it in my inventory in order to make the bricks if I want to. I'll decide how many I want at the time. For now though, this just needs a jolly good tidying up. That pipe is 3 times longer than it needs to be, and the belt is about 20 times longer than it needs to be. Everything just needs a little bit of a shufty about and a nice little building putting around it. Right, so that is my little building that I've just made around the mud farm. I didn't make very many changes to it. This is the little farm as it stands at the moment. You can see that I've just sort of compacted it down a little bit so everything is a little bit neater. The only thing I have changed is around the back. If I can climb up here maybe. Whoop, whoop. There we go. You can see that I've got horizontal water wheels out the back rather than the one that was in the ground, just because I think it looks a little bit better when you look round the back of the building. There you go, that's a little bit better now. You should be able to see that. So we've got the water wheels round the back along with the pipe that is taking in our water for conversion, and it just makes it look like it's all a little bit more official. Hello, baby drowned with a fishing rod. I don't want the fishing rod, and I don't want you, so I'm going back to the land. And my plan for this area now, though, is to make it look like there is a reason for there to be this mud farm here. So I'm going to turn this area into a sort of mud flat, if you will, where the silt is kind of gathering as it comes around on the river. This is where I'm going to be able to use the nice packed mud that I've made, just to make it look a little bit like there's a reason for that building to be here. Maybe they're dredging up all of this silt and they're filling it into those barrels at the back there. Just so that it looks like it's got half a reason, really. Because as well, with that little tower on top, it does look kind of like this might have been a converted church at some point. Not too sure why I put a tower on there, I just thought it looked good. But still, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of form over function sometimes, right? But this does unfortunately mean, though, that we've run out of time to sort out that greenhouse this episode. And so instead, I'm going to leave it for next episode. Next time we will get that one replaced with our water tower. And I'm thinking I might build my enchanting setup in there as well. Because, as I have been complaining about since day one, I suspect, I really could do with improving these tools. In fact, yes, I'm pretty certain I have complained about that literally every episode so far. So next episode, we will get it sorted. Probably. Assuming, of course, I don't get massively distracted by anything else. For now, though, we have at least got our mud farm, so we've got a new block that we can bring into the area. And I hope you've enjoyed this little video, where we have made at least some good progress on our base as well. Happy Minecrafting, everyone, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye!